Hello everyone. By fairly popular demand, I'll be making a short video explaining how to put some of the more intricate details of my latest storage system together, in particular how the alignment for the minecart works. Now, if you haven't seen my first video on the storage system, I highly recommend you go watch the showcase first, as I'll explain what the entire thing is and how it exactly works in much more detail over there. This is just going to be a very short video explaining some of the more annoying bits. This is not going to be a full tutorial in that sense. First, expanding. I saw somebody in the comment section ask if you can expand the slices out this way. And yes, you totally can. This goes both for the bulk slices and the regular slices over here. There's theoretically no limit to how far you can stretch them, although I wouldn't recommend making them more than 100 blocks long or so. That wouldn't work all that well, because if you do this with the regular slices, this is only for the regular, the bulk slices aren't affected by this. You're going to have to make sure that there's enough minecarts in this chest here. Essentially, the longer this gets, the more minecarts you need to saturate out the rail line at the bottom here, and therefore you need more minecarts in this chest so that you don't run out of minecarts. You're going to have to test exactly how many you need yourself. I can't give you an exact number for this, besides for the amount that you can see in the testing world, obviously. This also means if you want less slices, you can probably get away with removing some of the minecarts in this chest here. Now, the way you test if there's enough minecarts in the chest here is by sorting unstackable items. So you just get a whole bunch of boxes with unstackable items inside of them, so that they overflow into the chest over here, because that way they spend the longest time traveling, because they have to go all the way around the storage and take the longest to be recycled by the eater here again. And if it sorts that continuously, it will sort anything continuously. So just make sure you don't run out of minecarts and you'll probably be fine. What's next on the list? Directionality, yes. So the splitters in particular are extremely directional, and the same thing also goes for the pre-sorter here. Meaning this entire storage has to be built in the exact orientation you see it in the world here. So that means the splitters, the tracks on the top here need to be aligned west to east. And the rails in the center of the splitter for the heater in here, they need to be north-south. Yes, keep that in mind when building this, otherwise things will definitely break. Anyways, what's next? Right, let's actually show the car placement. I am going to fly over here and sacrifice one of these splitters down here. They're just copies. So I'm going to break out all of this and show you how this works. But first, turn on hitboxes so you can actually see what's going on. Obviously, I have this all entombed here already. If you were to be building this from scratch, you would obviously not have this already filled in at the top here. You would start building this from the bottom up so that you have an easier time and can encase the entire minecart before you build all of the other stuff around it. I'm going to have to do it the hard way now though, so we are going to have to break these two. Then I'm going to have to place a block there so the water doesn't flow in, and break that trapdoor. And then it just willy-nilly start removing stuff. I can break that. Yes, I can break that. So, if you want to place these carts in, it's easiest to start on this side. Place walls in this fashion. It has to be walls. Then grab a rail, place it down. Get your minecart. Break the rail. And then nudge the minecart into the corner of the wall like this. Also make sure that you remove the rail again. That will drop into the dropper here. Obviously I'm in creative mode, so nothing got in there, but if you're in survival, you're going to have to remove the rail here, so there's no like random items in here. Now, technically speaking, this is fine like this. But obviously you would probably want to protect this somehow. Now, on top of the hoppers, it's really easy. You can just use concrete powder and just drop it in. This essentially entombs the minecart, and this is now completely bump safe. Like, nothing can ever get to this now. And if you want to check the alignment, it should be sitting with its hitbox on top of all 4 of the hoppers. This corner hopper here only like a tiny little bit. And then have most of its hitbox extend to the hopper in the corner here. On the other side, over here, this is a little bit more tricky. because I have mud blocks here, and well, I can't drop a gravity block on top of the mud block, it just breaks. But the minecart setup itself is the same. You just place a rail, you place your walls again like this, place your cart, break the rail, and then you shove the cart into the corner again. In this case, we actually need to have some blocks here, because we need to place our repeater back, for example, and there needs to be a block here for the water. So we are going to have to do some zero-ticking magic. For that, get some glass. I would recommend using glass because you can see inside of it, and it's a nice transparent block. It needs to be transparent in this case. Get a sticky piston and a button of any description. You place your glass in front of the minecart like this. And you place your piston. And now we're going to zero-tick the glass into the minecart so it doesn't move. So normally if you were to regularly extend the piston here, it would move the minecart. But since we zero-tick the glass block into the entity, it doesn't move because it doesn't realize that the block has been moved in there. Then we continue doing this for all of the other blocks. And now I have the really annoying problem that I have already built this entire thing around here, and I'm seriously struggling to place the blocks. So for example, if I wanted to place this block here, it would be annoying and difficult because I had to remove a whole bunch of stuff. Obviously you guys wouldn't have this problem because this wouldn't exist yet. But we are going to have to place the glass block in the corner here. And for that we remove this. And I think we can place the piston like this. Yes. It also works from the top, you don't have to do it from the side. And then I can zero-tick that back in. Place my repeater back. Place this block back. Activate a rail. Then let's place the last minecart, and this alignment is super easy. You get a fence gate, place it down, and get your cart. Just roll it against the fence gate. That's all you have to do here. Once again, actually, wait, no, in this case you can't leave it like this either. This needs to be replaced by another glass block, so we need to get our glass out again, get the piston, and zero-tick it in place. And that's it. Now we can replace all of our other blocks again. So our trapdoor goes back here. Break that. Then we can break this again, so the water flows back. Place that block again, so that the items are nicely contained. Same thing goes for this. And this. And we're back to how it was originally, besides that this is now concrete powder. So yeah, that's how you do that. If you want to check the alignment, you can go into Spectator and see if the hitbox of the minecarts sit on top of the 4 hoppers, which they do in this case. They also do over here. The top minecart should be aligned in a way where it extends with its hitbox slightly over the minecart over here and over here, so it sucks the items into both of the minecarts equally. And if you want to test the alignment yourself, just grab 8 items of any description. See, where can I quickly... There you go, 8. And if you put them in here, they should instantly disappear. And if you then check all of the droppers at the bottom here, they should all have exactly 1 item inside of them. Same thing goes for over here. 1 here, 1 here, and well, in this case, well, the hopper points over into the dropper, so there's 2 items in there. But yeah, that also means it's worked as well. Another annoying card placement is the placement for the cards over in the pre-sorter. So this over here. In case anyone was ever wondering how it's possible for these cards to not just suck their items into one another when they're stacked on top of one another, is because these cards are locked. So, in case you don't know, if you take a card and you roll it over a powered activator rail, like this, and drive it away, even though it's no longer on any rail or anything, this card is now locked. This will not pick up any items, and it will completely refuse to do essentially anything. And that's exactly what the system does over here. The cards will get stacked up like this, where they're all locked. Then they get dropped down, where they get unlocked here by a non-powered activator rail, in which case they can pull an item in again. And once they've completed their journey, they will get locked again over here and get put back into the stack here. So the way you insert these when you first build this, it's quite simple. I'm quickly going to break one of these. As you can tell, the bottom card didn't even suck in any of the items. And you place your cart down here on this rail. If you do it over here, the hopper here would suck in items, so this is the first rail you can do this on. Then you put in your filter, like this. And then you just drive the cart off. It drives over the powered activator rail. It gets locked. And it just sits there now. Drives itself into the little hole here, and they automatically stack themselves up. And from now, the system will know how to do the next step. Great. That, I think, is all for card placements. So, on to the next. Right, the crafters. So, I looked at the crafting recipe for the crafters the other day, and I realized they're actually kind of expensive. And I used quite a lot of them here for no other purpose but to provide a second strength. And you don't need to use crafters here. The only reason I used the crafters here is because I found that really convenient how you can change the second strength by literally setting it by clicking an interface like this. But this doesn't need to be a crafter. This can be any block that would provide a second strength. So for example, composters would also work extremely well. The same thing also goes for the crafter over here. This crafter serves no other purpose than to provide a second strength of 9 to this fade out clock. And you can replace that with anything else that also provides a second strength of 9. Great. Next, chunk loading. I saw nobody asking this, but I'm quickly going to mention it anyways, because I don't think I mentioned it in the main video. If you want to chunk load the system and leave whilst it is running, which you technically speaking would never really have to do because it is ridiculously quick at sorting items anyway, so you're never gonna have to wait more than 10 minutes unless you sort an absolutely absurd amount of items. But if you do want to chunk load this, yeah, I would recommend chunk aligning the entire system whilst you're building it. So for example, I didn't try to chunk align this when I build it, and now I have the really annoying problem that I have like 2 blocks that hang out into a neighboring chunk over here, including entities, meaning this would be really annoying to chunk load now. Either way, you would never be able to get away with only using a single chunk loader, as there would always be a second chunk loader needed in a line over here. But the system with 4, actually this even has 6 splitters, is not wide enough to not fit into 3 chunks diagonally like this. So if you were to scoot this over a couple of blocks, over up to this chunk barrier here, you would be able to fit the rest of this all into 3 chunks, and you would only need a chunk loader here and, well, here to chunk load literally all of this. The only annoying thing about the chunk loaders is that you can't really automatically activate them, as there's no neat way to detect the last thing the storage might still be doing, which is unloading boxes here. And because there's no good way to detect if it's still unloading boxes, you can't automatically turn on and off the chunk loading very easily. So it's best to have a chunk loader that you just flick a lever on and leave running and then turn off once it's no longer needed anymore. Or just have a permanent chunk loader if you really wanted to. Or obviously build the entire system in the spawn chunks, which for lag reasons I wouldn't really recommend all that much. But yeah. I know this is going to be a fairly common question to a lot of people. Am I going to be able to build the storage on my server? And the simple answer for that is yes, if it's a vanilla server, and yes, if it's a Fabric server. So for example, well, this isn't the server, but Fabric will work. Vanilla will also work. Those are the only 2 that I have tested. I can almost guarantee you that this will not work on any fork of paper, spigot, bucket, purple, or anything along those lines. But I've not tested that, and you would have to try that yourself. Although, don't put your hopes up too high. Those types of servers don't tend to be particularly nice with various bits of redstone. So, you have to test this yourself. Great. Next. Right, the new snapshot changes. For full transparency, I'm just going to mention this here. If the very experimental snapshot changes that Mojang has announced as of, I think, the 15th the snapshot came out on, this entire system wouldn't work anymore for various reasons. I don't think the storage is affected by the changes to redstone dust, although I had the sneaking suspicion, I have an updater here, so this would be fine. However, it would definitely break with the upcoming, or not necessarily upcoming, but the very experimental minecart changes, which is why I don't like them all that much. For various reasons I'm quickly going to explain. So over here, for example, the system relies on this dispenser being able to dispense 2 minecarts on top of this detector rail here. And this is no longer possible. The minecart, where the second minecart would get spat out as an item entity. It would not actually stack 2 minecarts on top of this rail here, because they removed the ability to stack minecarts using dispensers or by hand, which is a terrible, terrible change that I really, really do hope they will revert. Not just because this breaks my particular storage, but also because it breaks a whole bunch of other storage tech related machinery. The second thing that would completely break due to the minecart changes is both this minecart at the top here and the minecarts that would sit here. They are retained by this purple block here or this honey block. And to my knowledge, in the latest snapshot, if you have a minecart on a rail like this that is sloped, it can no longer be retained by a block that is diagonally above it like this. I'm going to turn on hitboxes here again so you can see what's happening. As you can tell, the minecart hitbox intersects the bottom of this block here. This is even a honey block. It has a pixel less of a hitbox. This would normally be 1 pixel more. And because of that, the minecart stays behind this block. To my knowledge, this currently also doesn't work anymore in the latest snapshot because there's some bugs with the way minecarts behave. And last but not least, and obviously the thing that most people probably have been complaining about the most, because it breaks essentially every collection system under most farms people have been building over the last 2 years, minecart yeeting is completely broken. So the carts would simply not get yeeted anymore. They can no longer be aligned against some kind of hitbox, like over here, where they then snap into the lava cauldron and the rail at the same time. They would just snap directly to the center of the rail here, and therefore all of minecart yeeting is currently broken, breaking this seater over here, the top one, where is it? The top one over here, and most obviously also all of the entire row of yeeters here. Now, it's needless to say at this point that I am not particularly happy about these minecart changes, and do not like most of them, in particular the alignment of minecarts against rails so that yeeting doesn't work anymore, as well as the dispenser changes. They are both terrible and in my opinion should definitely be reverted. However, at this point we can still hope that the system will still work going into the future, and it will work in the latest snapshot as long as the experimental toggle is turned off. And well, I can only hope that the experimental changes will either get changed drastically or not implemented as they currently stand. And last but not least, item filters. I had one person in the comments ask me for the item filters on the splitters here. The way this works is you have the minecart dispensed onto this rail here, and first it has this item put into it to fill up the first slot. This will almost immediately be removed again, just make sure that this is any renamed item. Then it will move up the bubble column, and all of these hoppers here that are pointing directly into the bubble column and therefore into the minecart will put in one of each type of filter going from 1 to 4. This has to be a renamed 16 stackable of any description, can be a sign, an egg, an ender pearl, as long as it's renamed. And once the minecart gets moved out again, once it's done here, it will drive over these 4 hoppers here that essentially act as item filters. So for the top 2 hoppers here and here, so 1 and 3 in this case, the cart will just drive over the same hopper that also puts the item into the cart again. And for the other 2, the item will be put into the hopper over here and then snake down until it gets to the hopper it's supposed to go into. And all of these hoppers have to be filled with the exact same setup so that this acts as a redstone-less item filter. This also goes for the filter items over here. So yeah, that is all of the things I wanted to talk about. I do hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you have any more questions or comments, I can always be found lurking on the Storage Tech Discord server, or I've also been very actively answering questions in the comment section of the main video. Besides that, I hope you have a great day, and bye-bye.